They all whispered about her. The girl with the midnight skin and quiet eyes. They said she moved like a ghost in that marble mansion, never speaking unless spoken to, never smiling, never asking for anything. Her uniform was always pressed, her eyes always lowered. She never challenged, never stumbled, and never got in the way. Just another maid, they assumed. Just another shadow in the background of the Carrington estate. But he noticed her. Damien Carrington. Billionaire. Mogul. Genius, if you asked him, or any of the countless media outlets that followed his every move. He walked through life like the world owed him its breath. Women worshipped him. Men feared him. Competitors folded before him. His empire, Carrington Tech, was on the verge of launching a global AI that would change the landscape of every industry from medicine to security. But for all his power, Damien Carrington was still a man. And like all men, he had a blind spot. He just didn't know it yet. Every morning, he would descend the grand staircase with the air of a king surveying his kingdom. And every morning, his eyes would pass over the maid with the scar on her wrist, the one with the dreadlocks tied in a bun, standing near the base of the stairs. Sometimes their eyes met, briefly, a flicker, and every time, something about her made his brow tighten. He didn't recognize her, but she knew him. She knew everything. She knew the soft dimple in his left cheek when he smiled, though she'd never seen it in person. She knew the way his voice dropped a pitch when he was bluffing in meetings. She knew the scar on his temple came from a skiing accident at age 12. She knew his mother's laugh, his mother's perfume, his mother's lies. Because his mother was her mother too. Nia Jameson had waited 15 years for this moment. She had worked in shelters, fast food joints, hospitals, laundromats. She'd cleaned toilets, scrubbed blood off hospital floors, and once slept under an overpass during winter. All of it had led her here, to this cold, immaculate mansion where marble floors echoed footsteps and secrets. She hadn't come for money. Not even for revenge. She came for something deeper. For truth. For clarity. For the ghost of her mother that still whispered in her dreams. It was 6 weeks ago when she first walked into the Carrington estate. The agency had sent her on short notice. She remembered the way the other maids had looked at her, some with pity, some with curiosity. A black maid in a sea of blonde perfection. But Nia didn't flinch. She carried her past with quiet pride. She learned quickly, cleaned efficiently, never talked unless spoken to. And slowly, she began to piece together the world of Damien Carrington. He was brilliant, yes. But cold, impatient, arrogant. He didn't just expect perfection, he demanded it. The staff feared him, the executives worshipped him, and the media adored him. But he was a man without roots. No pictures of family in the hallway. No mention of siblings. And his mother, Margaret Carrington, was treated like royalty in the past tense. She had passed 10 years ago. Her portrait hung above the fireplace, a poised, elegant woman with silver hair, flawless skin, and eyes that never looked directly at you. Nia remembered those eyes. They haunted her. Because once, long ago, they had looked into hers with something between shame and fear. She was 13 when she found out the truth. Her mother had been dying, lungs scarred from years of cleaning chemicals, body failing from exhaustion. On her final night, she handed Nia an envelope. Inside it, a photograph of a young woman holding a baby boy. On the back, in fading ink, "To my little Damien. Love, Mom." Nia's world tilted that night. She had always known her mother hid something, that she had secrets. But this, a brother, a rich, white brother raised in luxury while she had grown up in cockroach-infested apartments. Nia never got angry that night. Not really. She got quiet. She buried her mother, burned the secrets, and kept the photograph. Years passed. Life moved on. But that image, Damien as a toddler, laughing in his mother's arms, stayed etched in her soul. And now here he was. Just a few rooms away. Damien Carrington, tech billionaire, face of the future, her brother. The storm had started that morning, gray skies rolling in as if the universe was impatient for what came next. Nia was polishing the silverware in the dining hall when she heard his voice echo through the corridor. "No, I don't care what the board says. They'll do what I say, or they'll walk." He always spoke with thunder in his voice. Like everyone around him was disposable. Like everything could be controlled. Except truth. She was nearly done with her chores when Melanie, his assistant, poked her head into the kitchen. "Hey, Nia, can you wipe the stairwell floors again? He's having guests tonight." Nia nodded. Of course. She took the supplies and made her way toward the sweeping staircase. Halfway through scrubbing, she heard the footsteps. Sharp, fast, angry. Damien was yelling into his earpiece again. And then it happened. He slipped. It was comical in a strange way. This towering billionaire, this man who ruled over cities, slipped on a small patch of water. His ankle twisted, and he slammed his head against the iron railing with a sickening crack. Time froze. Melanie screamed. 2 guards rushed in. The staff crowded the hallway. He was breathing, but barely conscious. Blood trickled down his forehead. "Get a doctor," someone shouted. Damien groaned, delirious, whispering words under his breath. Then louder. "Mother." Nia's breath caught. She stood frozen, mop in hand, as if her entire life had narrowed into that one word. Mother. He was calling for her. He didn't know it, but he was calling for the only person in that room who had held their mother's hand when she died. The only one who had heard her last confession. The only one who had kept the secret. Melanie turned toward her, wild-eyed. He won't calm down. He keeps asking for his mother. Nia moved before she could think. She followed the chaos up the stairs, into the master suite, where Damien lay sprawled on the bed, forehead bandaged, face pale. His eyes were fluttering, lost in memory. "Mother," he whispered again. "Why didn't you tell me?" She stepped closer. "I'm here," she said softly. His eyes blinked open. Their eyes met. He frowned. "You." She sat down at the edge of the bed. "Don't move too much. You hit your head." He stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Why do you sound like?" She reached into her pocket and pulled out the photograph. "Because I am her daughter." He flinched. "What?" She laid the photo on his nightstand. He stared at it, confused. Then slowly, too slowly, he picked it up. Recognition dawned like a slow, dreadful sunrise. This is me. Yes. And her handwriting. Yes. His hands trembled. No, this can't be real. It is. He turned toward her, face pale. "My mother would never." "She did," Nia said, voice cracking now. "She had me first. Years before you were born. She never told your father. She left me, left us, started a new life." Damien was shaking. "I don't believe you. You don't want to," Nia whispered. He looked away, jaw clenched, fury and disbelief battling behind his eyes. She stood up. "I'm not here for your money, Damien. I'm not here to ruin you. I just wanted to see who you were. To know what made her choose you. To look into the eyes of the brother I never had." She walked to the door. "I'll leave tomorrow. You don't have to see me again." But just before she stepped out, he spoke, voice hollow. "What was her name?" Nia paused. "Her name was Gloria, but you called her Margaret." Then she was gone, and Damien Carrington sat in silence, photograph in hand, his empire suddenly smaller than a secret. The silence in the Carrington mansion had never been so loud. Damien sat alone in his sprawling master bedroom, the storm outside still echoing against the windows. His fingers trembled as he stared at the faded photograph Nia had left behind. His mind kept circling back to one word, sister. The idea gnawed at his insides, shredded the foundation of everything he thought he knew about his mother, about himself. For 37 years, he had believed he was her only child. Her pride, her golden boy. But now, there was this woman. This maid. This stranger who looked at him with too much calm, too much history in her eyes. He turned the photo over again and again. The back still bore the faint ink of the message, "To my little Damien. Love, Mom." He knew that handwriting. His heart pounded in his chest as memories flooded back. Childhood birthdays with precisely wrapped gifts. Letters slipped into his school lunches when he was nervous about exams, the perfume of lavender and lemon that used to linger on her scarf. His mother had been loving, yes. But she had also been elusive. Private. She never talked about her past. Not once. He hadn't thought to question it. Until now. Damien poured himself a glass of whiskey and downed it in one gulp. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in the dark, tracing the photo with his thumb, then staring at the door as if Nia might return. She didn't. The next morning, he got up early. Earlier than usual. He barely looked at his reflection in the mirror. He didn't shave, didn't fix his hair. He threw on a sweatshirt and jeans, no suit, no tie. He went downstairs without a word to anyone and scanned the kitchen, the hall, the courtyard. Nia was gone. Melanie walked up with cautious steps. "Sir, are you okay? You took a pretty bad fall." The doctor said. "Where's the maid?" He cut her off. Melanie blinked. "Which one? You know which one." Melanie hesitated. "She left at dawn." "Where did she go?" "She didn't say." He exhaled sharply, jaw clenched. "Get me her file. The one from the agency." "Sir, that might." Now. 10 minutes later, he had a slim manila folder in his hand. Basic info. Name: Nia Jameson. Birthplace: Bronx, New York. Age: 28. Education: GED. Work history: scattered. No family listed. Of course not. He closed the file and stared out the window. She had vanished just like that, as if she had only come to plant the truth and watch it grow wild in his mind. He couldn't let it end like that. So he did what he was best at. He hunted her down. Within a few hours, he had his private investigator working. By afternoon, they had a last known address. A small rented room above a bookstore in Brooklyn. Damien didn't hesitate. He canceled all his meetings, much to the confusion of his staff, and drove himself there. The drive through the city was surreal. He passed neighborhoods he hadn't set foot in since college, ones where the sidewalks were cracked and the air thick with sirens and old stories. When he pulled up in front of the bookstore, he paused for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel. This wasn't his world. It was hers. He climbed the narrow stairs to the second floor and knocked. No answer. He knocked again, harder. Finally, the door opened a crack. And there she was. No uniform. Just jeans and a worn t-shirt. Her dreadlocks hung loose over her shoulders. She looked at him, expression unreadable. "You're not supposed to be here," she said quietly. "You left," he replied. "I said I would." He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. She didn't stop him. The room was small. A bed, a chair, a bookshelf with paperbacks stacked haphazardly. A coffee mug with a chipped handle. On the wall, a photo of her mother, their mother, framed simply. He stood in front of it, jaw tight. She called herself Gloria. She was. She lied to me. She had to. He turned toward her. "Did she ever tell you why?" Nia walked past him, picking up a cup of tea from the nightstand. "She was 17 when she got pregnant with me. Her parents disowned her. She moved in with my father, who was gone by the time I was born. She raised me on her own for years. Then she met your father. He was rich, charming, powerful. She changed everything for him. Her name, her accent, her story. She hid me, put me with a neighbor and told them I was her niece. Eventually, she stopped coming back." Damien swallowed. "So she just left." "She sent letters. Money when she could. Birthday cards. She told me she had no family left. That I was her world. She was afraid to lose everything again." Damien dropped into the old chair, rubbing his temples. "And you, why come now? Why get a job in my house? You could have just told me. Would you have believed me?" He didn't answer. She sighed and sat on the edge of the bed. "I needed to see what kind of man you were. Not the version on magazine covers. The real you. And what did you find?" He asked bitterly. "A man who thinks he owns everything he sees. A man who thinks kindness is weakness. But also, a man who doesn't sleep well. Who drinks too much. Who looks at his mother's portrait like it might speak back." Her words hit like glass shattering in his chest. He looked down. "I don't know who I am anymore." "You're still you," she said softly. "But now you're not alone." He looked up, eyes dark. "You really are my sister." "Yes." A long silence passed between them. Something heavy but honest settled in the air. Finally, he stood. "I want you to come back." Nia shook her head. "I'm not your employee." "No, I mean as family." She blinked. "I need time," she said. It's a lot." He nodded slowly. He pulled out his business card and set it on the dresser. "You ever need anything?" "I won't," she said. "But I might." Their eyes met again, not as strangers, not quite as siblings, but something close. Something raw and true. He turned to leave. Before he opened the door, she said quietly, "She loved you. You should know that. She just didn't know how to love us both." He paused. then walked out. The air hit him like a wave when he stepped onto the street. The city roared around him, indifferent and alive. He got in the car and sat there for a long time before finally driving off. The following weeks were strange. Damien was different. He showed up to meetings quieter, more introspective. His board noticed. His staff whispered. He started a new fund for single mothers under the name Gloria Initiative. He didn't explain it. Melanie found him one afternoon staring at the maid's closet. "What happened?" she asked softly. He turned to her and said, "I used to think I knew everything about my life. Turns out I missed the most important chapter." Later that month, he returned to the Brooklyn bookstore. The room upstairs was empty. Gone. No forwarding address. Just a note taped to the door. "Some truths don't belong in mansions. They belong in hearts. I'll be okay. You will too." No signature. But he knew who wrote it. He folded the note and slipped it into his wallet next to the photograph of a little boy on his mother's hip. Damien Carrington didn't know where Nia had gone. But he knew this: for the first time in his life, he wasn't alone. He had a sister. And no amount of distance could erase that. The past had found him. And this time, he wasn't running.